Good morning, afternoon, and evening, wherever you are, and welcome to Views on the News.
Was the Pope appealing for peace, or was he praying for peace?
And the same applies to the carry moon drag.
Yeah, that's a good question. So what do you have to say about that, guys? Our panel tonight consists of Tersia. We've had some apologies from other people for various reasons. You know, they've all got lives. Anyway, Tersia, welcome. How the devil are you?
I'm good, and I also have a life. So let's just get that clear. It's the 1st of September. We had a lovely day today. It's spring day. Tribute to my garden, lavender, freshly cut lavender.
I see. Yeah.
Yes. So
it smells nice. Do I expect?
It does, and it's lovely. I love my lavender. So yeah, it's just me.
Never mind, you're good value. You've got opinions, so that's all we need. Okay, item number 1 is about an attack. It's got to be described like that, including fire and an explosion on a synagogue in a southern resort in France. So we're on the coast of France, the Mediterranean coast, and apparently a perpetrator was shot by the police after he opened fire on them when they came to arrest him in the city of Nîmes. He'd retreated from the site of the synagogue, which was in the seaside resort of La Grande Motte. So he'd retreated to Nîmes, and the police caught up with him. He fired at them and they shot him. He's now injured but surviving, and it's been described as anti-Semitic attack. There was an explosion. 5 people were inside the synagogue at the time. The rabbi was there inside, and this suspect also set fire to several entrance doors of the synagogue in an attempt to stop them escaping, I guess. And he was wearing a Palestinian flag around his waist. So it's been described as a terrorist act by Emmanuel Macron and the Prime Minister, Gabriel Attal, and another minister, Interior Minister, Mr. Darmanin. And so there we have it. A Palestinian supporter attacks a synagogue in France. The religion of peace strikes again.
Strikes again, yeah. What strikes me is that these conflicts inevitably seem to draw all of us, the entire world possibly, into the conflict. And I can't be helped but reminded of the actions of one Serb nationalist by the name of Gabriel Princip, who took it upon himself to assassinate the Archduke and Duchess of Austria-Hungary in 1914.
Yeah, we know what that caused.
We know what that caused, and I just wish I could interview one of these people who commit these acts, because what are they hoping to achieve? I wonder if they know what they are hoping to achieve. And besides that, why do they have to perform these actions? Why can't the Almighty God that they believe in so fervently, why can't he just take action? And then at least we can say it was an act of God, and there shouldn't be any human retaliation, because why would a mere human retaliate against the Almighty Creator of the universe?
maybe he's not as almighty as he's cracked up to be.
Maybe. Funny thing is, his followers aren't far from almighty, but they do have a mighty influence on events on this planet, and that's very disconcerting.
And they have a mighty powerful belief in him, despite his apparent inability to do anything.
Yep.
Moving on, Pakistan. A local Sharia council sentenced, this is really horrifying. You might want to put your fingers in your ears.
I know. Why? How?
Yeah, let me just finish reading it anyway. Sentenced a teenage girl to be raped in public. She'd done nothing. This was to atone for the crime of her brother, who had raped a woman the week before. It's a revenge rape. It's substitutionary punishment. It's ridiculous. And it was in front of her parents and 40 members of the village Islamic Council. The rapist himself was let off.
Well, he was doing it on. This is now the brother. The brother.
Yes. The actual guilty person.
Yeah. Oh my God, that is so primitive. How does this happen?
Well, it boggles the mind, doesn't it? It's so foreign to civilized culture.
Jeez.
Yeah, there's not much more we can say, really, is there? It's just so.
No. It's just it's worse. It's no. I think I don't have the opinions that I cannot share because I'll just.
Words fail us. Yeah. And when words fail Tersia, we know something serious is going on.
Yeah.
Moving then to Germany, where there's been a lot of incidents involving immigrants, mostly young men, mostly of a Muslim persuasion. And the most recent one, it happened last Sunday. It was a knife attack in the city of Solingen. 3 people were killed, 8 were injured, and police were looking into the suspects' links with Islamic State.
Well, you know, without being facetious, and these things happen because young men don't have enough of an outlet for their innate youthful fervor and aggression. I think it should be made a law that all young men, especially those who are fervent believers in any kind of faith, should play rugby, because rugby is such a violent sport.
Yes.
The All Blacks played the Springboks last night and we won. And every time I watch a rugby match, I just come to the conclusion that I think that is one of the reasons South Africa is still a nice place to live, because we have this very violent sport that people can play voluntarily in a contained space, and
there are rules too, aren't there? So that's important.
There are rules, and you play it. You're on the field because you want to be. You're in the stadium because you want to watch it. So
it's an outlet. It's an outlet for aggression, isn't it?
Yes, and the more I listen to these newscasts, and the more I just think that there should be some form of outlet for these violent tendencies, and combine that with the fervor of conviction.
And And it did, you're right, it did unite South Africa, didn't it? Because shortly after Nelson Mandela broke through,
Yeah.
you won the World Cup or something.
Yes. Yes.
That's right, isn't
And
it?
and also in a country that is racially still divided and that
Mm.
still suffers many of the results, the lasting consequences of many decades of apartheid.
Mm.
Rugby is the one thing that unites us as a country.
Mm.
Where last night the stadium was sold out, 62,000 people in attendance, and it was middle-aged white men, young black men, young black women, white,
Yeah.
everybody just like one.
Yeah.
We unite behind our team.
Yes.
That's I think there should be more sport. And,
Yeah.
if in our family we have this running joke that since my family since all of us deconverted, my father he always jokes because he's a fanatic sports fan, especially rugby, and we also always joke that Ruggabush is his new religion.
Yes.
But that is such a fun religion.
Yes.
I mean, if you must have religion,
Yes.
at least have something that unites people.
Absolutely.
It doesn't divide them, and you have an outlet for your violent fervor on a pitch according to rules, and you don't harm other people who don't want to play the game.
Yeah. More sport. Bring it on. Yeah. I've been watching the cricket, which of course recently has been between, first of all, England and West Indies this summer, and more recently between England and Sri Lanka. And it's been, England's won everything. Unfortunately for, people who want a gripping match, an edge of the seat experience, it's been a walkover. So that's a downside of.
But it's way better. Even a walkover is way better than some religious fanatic killing innocent people because they don't believe what he wants them to believe.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this one, the IS, the Islamic State, they've claimed responsibility for this latest atrocity in Germany. So it's another example of the religion of peace. Going to Christianity and to America and to the Democratic Convention in Chicago up until recently, an evangelical Christian pastor and co-founder and executive director of Vote Common Good, an organization committed to engaging Christian voters. And the pastor's name is Doug Pagitt. He articulated their strategy at the Democrats' convention, saying, "We are trying to help religious conservatives understand it's okay for them to let concern for the common good and not allegiance to a political party determine how they vote." Now, the strange thing about that is he's not bothered about them having allegiance to a religion.
I'm not sure I understand. I don't follow the reasoning, and that's what makes America to me an anathema, and why I think this even the Democrats.
Yeah.
Of course, I really hope that anybody but Donald Trump becomes the president of the United States. But why can't they just follow reason? Why do they always have to bring in religion into everything?
Yeah. It's weird, isn't it? It might have started back in whenever it was 1412 or whenever it was. No, it's more recent, wasn't it? It was 16 when Europe started sending its religious nutcases across the Atlantic. Or it was the other way around. The religious nutcases decided that Europe was going too liberal for them.
Yeah.
And they haven't looked back since then, shamefully. So Roman Catholicism, the Pope. Apparently, Ukraine has recently decided to ban the Ukrainian Orthodox Church, which historically has been tied to Russia. Now, this has got some, this has got some, and of course, that's what's his name? It's not Cardinal, is it? It's Cyril.
The patriarch.
Yeah, Patriarch Cyril. Yes, the leader of the Russian Orthodox Church. But this has got some backstory because quite a little while ago, after the invasion, Russia invaded Ukraine. The Ukraine government started by banning the Russian Orthodox Church, which had lots of venues in Ukraine, because they didn't like Patriarch Cyril saying that Putin was right, which he did. So they moved a step further now, because there was always the Ukrainian Orthodox Church, which the Orthodox supporters could migrate to when their Russian churches were closed down. But now it transpires they've decided to ban the Ukrainian Orthodox Church.
Okay, so where are they going to go to church now?
I don't know. It's not the government's problem, but the Pope is taking this on board as his problem. He said Christians should be allowed to pray freely and that churches should not be abolished. He's gone on to say, please, let no Christian church be abolished, directly or indirectly. Churches are not to be touched.
But what are the implications of this ban? Do we know? What are the implications? That's what I'm curious about. I mean, how do you ban the church? So does it mean you can't go to church? Does it mean exactly what does that mean?
I have no idea. I wouldn't try to do it myself, but that's what they've done in Ukraine. But what interests me is churches are not to be touched. The Pope thinks that these should be exempt from not only being closed, but or abolished, but any sort of touch. Which, I mean, it's understandable coming from a person in his position, but it's completely counter to what I want to see happen.
Yeah. Although I do think it always creates problems when a government enforces things like that.
Yeah.
I think it's a very bad move because you're guaranteed a backlash.
Of course. So, and this is it, isn't it? This is the Pope backlashing. But surely his strategy is equally enforcing, isn't it? He's saying, don't keep off my churches.
No, absolutely. He's not saying keep off the hands off the churches because government should not interfere with people's beliefs, which I agree with in principle. I think I'm very much pro freedom of and freedom from religion, but that's not the Pope's motivation here. The Pope obviously wants to protect. The Pope would have no problem with a religion or a faith that he doesn't support.
No, he wouldn't object to mosques being closed.
No. That wouldn't be a problem.
So he's actually said, I fear for the freedom of those who pray, because those who truly pray always pray for all. And a person does not commit evil by praying.
Well, if that is not a tacit acknowledgement that prayer doesn't work, then I don't know what. Because in every war that has been fought between Christians or even Christians and Muslims, each party certainly prayed to their God. So if you're saying that you can't do any harm by praying because you pray for everybody. So
It doesn't make sense. No. Every army has had God on its side, even if the armies have just been rival factions of Christianity.
yeah, yeah. That's of
We
course
have,
something that was one of the things. Even when I was still a fervent believer, something that really bugged me as a keen amateur historian and lover of history. I was always fascinated and a little bit perplexed by this whole idea that in every war that I studied, so in our country we had the first and the second Anglo-Boer wars, where we had the Brits fight against the Boers, and then you had the First World War, where you had Germany, that was a Christian nation, fight against France and England and all the rest, who were all Christians, and they all prayed to the same God to let them win and let the other guys lose. Killing as many killing as many fellow Christians as you possibly can. I mean,
yes, but that's not evil, because people who truly pray do not commit evil by praying.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If that's not an implicit acknowledgement that prayer has no effect whatsoever, then I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's what the Pope says anyway. It doesn't have to make sense. It's a papal declaration.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I want to show you a video now, because this is rather nice. This is
good. Nice. I'm not going to cry or be left speechless.
This is a piece of good news. You know, at the end of these shows, I like to have a piece of good news. Well, here it comes. There's two today, actually, but you'll like this one.
Is it a catalog?
Those are pages of the Quran going through the cheese grater, operated by a young girl in Denmark, outside, in front of the Islamic regime's embassy there. And she's an Iranian girl, a brave one.
Can we get hold of her? I would like to interview her, because I think she's, do we know who she is?
No. And she'd probably not want to identify herself if she's got any sense, because she could have her head macheted off.
Yeah, and I should say that while I do have a problem with burning books and burning Qurans and burning Bibles.
How about cheese grating them?
Well, same thing, I suppose. But and I don't know, maybe I'm guilty of a double standard here, but sometimes doing something like that is a very powerful way of communicating a message. And I am, in fact, on the 10th of September, I'll be in court again that regarding the case where I removed crosses from traffic signs in my town. So I suppose it's not really the same, but sometimes one has to do something to make a stand. And
actions speak louder than words.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that that's the right action, but then again, what would be the right type of action? So yeah, well, kudos to that brave young lady.
That's right. She made her point. She got attention. I've broadcast her, so it's working. Yeah. So here's another piece of good news, because there is, we were talking about closures of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church, but here in the UK, in Scotland, in fact, there's Spaymouth Parish Church, which after nearly 300 years of worship has come to an emotional end. Last Sunday marked the final service, and this is because the Kirk session, you know, the churches in Scotland are called Kirks, and
Which
it's
is very similar to Afrikaans.
yes, yes, you're right, yes. And they voted in May to dispose of this parish church, and that comes after major other decisions, such as the closure of Burney Kerk, Elgin High Church, St Giles's Church, and Pluscarden Church, among others in Moray, which are all earmarked for closure or have closed. Churchgoers were sad to see it close its doors for good, and the church's session clerk said, "It's always very difficult when a church building with such a historical background closes." Well, I don't suppose it's affected its history, and it'll probably be open as a historical monument.
Yeah, I was going to ask what's going to happen to the building, and
Very little, yeah. I'd guess. You know, we've got lots of them.
Yes.
Empty churches that you can go in and visit some of them. You know.
And you took me to visit one or two, and you heard me singing hymns in one or two of them as well when I was over there in 2022.
Yeah. The acoustics are generally very good.
Yes, and I love churches. I mean, I just love them for the art and the skill and the architecture, and also I would never want to see them destroyed, as in burnt to the ground or blown up, because I think they're an integral and very important part of our Western heritage. Therefore, I can empathize with the congregations and the sense of loss that they must be feeling. Yep. And there is something poignant, poignant about that loss of something that that's the community, the community that is to a great extent symbolized by those old churches and church congregations. I hope that secular humanism can flourish to the point where we can, as a movement, recapture something of that healthy community, that something that's hopefully more healthy than the Christian church type community. So I'm not celebrating that a church closed down, but I do hope that that it inspires all of us as humanity and as secular humanists and even as atheists to work harder to foster community of humans and care and support, regardless of creed or race or culture or language or gender or sexual preferences.
Well, they're useful buildings, aren't they? They're somewhere that a large number of people can assemble, and they can be used for other purposes. In fact, I've been to one in Brighton, which I was attending a Sunday assembly, which used to be called the Atheist Church, and it was in a church. And before now, I've held meetings of skeptics in churches. The buildings are useful. Just, you know.
And beautiful. They're very aesthetic buildings, and they can be repurposed in very creative ways.
Yeah. We've got one just down the road that is now an eye hospital. Much better, much more useful.
Yeah.
Okay, so the last thing I want to show you is a little video from Iran, because as you know, women continue to be arrested, beaten, and even killed for not wearing a hijab or not having their hair properly concealed under their hijab. A few wisps of it sticking out. But
so
this
are we
one,
done with good news now?
Yes. No. This is another piece of good news. Oh. This is the final piece of good news. This woman, she's a satirist. So she goes about in her, I suppose it's not a burqa, but it's a niqab, probably at that stage, you know. everything except the face covered, including the hair covered. And what she does is she makes the point that there's more significant ways of being offensive than not complying with the authorized garb. So this is what she does. Watch this.
First I was afraid, I was petrified. Kept thinking I could never live. Slowly to the moon and let me play. Tonight the music seems so loud. I wish that we could. First I was afraid, I was petrified. Kept thinking I could never live without you.
Ja, men fan.
Take another walk out of your face.
So which is more offensive there, her actions or her clothing?
That is brilliant.
Yeah. Eat your heart out, Gloria Gaynor. What a nice,
I love that.
what a nice thing to end on, eh?
Yes. Well, maybe I can say, since we have some minutes left, we actually under our schedule 45 minutes. Next weekend.
Yeah.
I don't know if maybe it's worth to do a little bit of a story about it, because have you heard of Angus Buchan?
No.
He's actually an international evangelist. You can Google him, Angus Buchan, as in the Scottish Buchan. It's a very he's an international South African evangelical of Scottish descent, and he became a phenomenon when there was a movie made about his life and his ministry. Very tragic story. He was a farmer in the KZN Midlands, and one day his brother was there, and all the kids were on the tractor, and his brother's little boy, I think, fell, and the tractor went over this boy, and he was tragically killed. And this caused a huge crisis of faith. And then Angus Buchan, after he had a sort of a dramatic conversion, and then he became this evangelical, and he started this movement. He's been to Australia, he's been to America, he's been to the UK as well, I'm almost sure. He hosts these massive prayer meetings, Mighty Men. You will definitely find it. So
I found him. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm unable to share. I've got a mismatch between Firefox and Safari, so I'm unable to share his picture.
But prior to the pandemic, they're called conferences, but they weekend-long praise and worship and sermons. And he has a big thing for praying for rain in drought-stricken areas. He went to Australia he went to Australia a number of times to pray for rain there. And some years ago, when Cape Town faced a severe drought, he blamed the drought on the large number of gay men. Please note, gay men who call Cape Town home, and their sinful lifestyle was the cause of the drought in Cape Town, and he didn't declare what the cause for the subsequent floods that we've had since then has been, but he is now visiting the town next over from ours, which is about 40 kilometers away, next weekend. He's having this, and I am very tempted. I'm seriously considering driving out there. No, I won't heckle. I'm not a heckler. That's beneath me, John. I'm not a heckler. What I am considering, there he is. We call him. He was a potato farmer, so we call him Uncle Potato in aardappel in Afrikaans. Yeah. And so I'm seriously considering driving out there, setting up a stall somewhere, with a nice gazebo or an umbrella and my Kruisvrij t-shirt, and just inviting people to convince me that I should become a Christian again.
Oh, yeah, sort of a street epistemology sort of thing.
Yeah, something like that, you know. So maybe it would be a good idea. So when you showed that woman in the Muslim satirist, maybe I shall do something like that. You know? Dress up like Mary Magdalene or something, and praise and worship, or
What about Dean? Would Dean want to join you?
I think I'm going to give him a call, because you see, this is what would be upsetting to many. This is a mighty men conference, you know. So me being there, maybe I should shall I get myself a disguise? Shall I get myself a fake moustache and go in a men's dress, go like an Anglican priest or something? Hey,
No, I think you'd be more offensive to them as a woman.
Shall I wear some sexy black outfit with a little bit of cleavage just to tempt them, you know?
The archetypal little black dress. Yes.
Yes. I'll get myself a nice little black dress with a vicar's collar, and a rosary, you know. How's that? But so watch this space. Maybe. Maybe,
definitely. Yeah. Sounds good to me. I'll look forward to that. We'll include it as a news item, of course.
Well, let me see.
Oh, she's just broken. I don't know what happened there. Power cut, load sharing, or battery died on the phone. I don't know. Anyway, she's been wonderful as usual, hasn't she? So thank you very much, Tersia. Oh, you're back.
Yeah, all right.
I was just thanking you in your absence and drawing the show to a close.
Okay, John. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. And thank you, viewers. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Was the Pope appealing for peace, or was he praying for peace?
And the same applies to the carry-on drag.
Yeah, that's a good question. So what do you have to say about that, guys?